Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in this very windy evening. I am joined by Mr. Bingham this evening, and as you can see, he's relaxing after a day's graft.
Yeah, thank
chilling
you for having
by the
me, mate.
fireplace.
Very warm.
Yeah, is it warm enough for you?
It is warm, mate, considering out there.
It is cold out there, isn't it?
It's winter for you.
Quite cold January, isn't it?
Compared to like last year.
Oh, was it colder last January?
Yeah, last January it was
How
freezing.
do you know that?
I don't know. The thing is with Mia's birthday being in Jan,
that's
it
why he knows
normally
it, 'cause of
snows
his
like
wife,
just
man.
after, and then I just base it off that. So it's always between Mia's birthday, my stepdad's in Feb.
I always feel like February's colder.
Yeah, Feb is. Feb and then
Was that when the
March.
Beast from the East was?
April.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, that was late. Like,
Wow.
proper late.
Yeah, the Beast from the East, I remember specifically where I was living. It was in Bedford, and it was April because I was just about to move into a new flat. And I remember it being horrendous and football matches being called off. So that season we ended up playing into like June.
When was that? How many years ago?
I reckon 18.
6 or 7 years ago. I think 2018 is a good shout. 2018 or 2019, yeah.
So, talking about coldness and heat and stuff, what made you become a heating engineer?
I'd say it started in school. I was always good with my hands, what everyone always told me. So like woodwork, stuff like that. I had a lot of like family friends who was always in the trade. So when I became work experience, which I think was like year 9 or something, I went out with my stepdad's best mate, electrician, and it was just a banter over the sites. It was like, for me, I always just looked at like, you either was a tradesman or admin. That's all it was. I never looked.
Mate, this is so weird. Someone else said exactly the same thing.
But that's how, like, no, I feel like in school they never
Crazy.
sort of like told you that. It was all just that or that. And then, yeah, mate, I just loved it. Loved it. So then that was it. I had my heart set on it. And then as soon as I finished school, I didn't do great. So then I sort of just, the day I got my GCSEs, down to Nescott, done my plumbing, because I'd been doing a bit of research. And then that was it. I was like, I want my gas. Like, I just focused on my gas. So, like, yeah, I'm a plumber, but I sort of just got through it to get to my gas. And
So
then,
that was your route?
Yeah.
That you were like, if you do this, you gain this?
Yeah,
which
'cause I know, like,
ultimately gas was the...
you can go in and just do gas. Like, I remember when I sat my gas, I had a cab driver who'd had enough, and everyone here is like tradespeople getting good paid money, so they just end up jacking it in and go down that route. But I wanted the sole like basics as such, and actually along the line it worked. It worked because you've got gas engineers who you can tell haven't done the plumbing, and they're just standard, and then you've got the ones who have, and then they're just different engineers. But yeah, for me it was always in school.
How did you find school?
Yeah, I'd say it was a struggle at times. Like, I wasn't the smartest. I think because I didn't enjoy it, I then...
Did you go to mixed school? Or...
no, just all boys. All boys.
So did I.
I know my mum wanted me to go to an all-boys school for, like, no distractions. and
Really?
that's what
Yeah.
she said. But whether or not that was the case, because actually boys are boys.
Yeah.
So actually we probably played up, like, a lot more than if girls were there. So I'd never done homework. Like, always, like, mucked around, never done it.
I don't agree with homework.
No, do you know what?
It's taking work home with you.
Yeah, like, it should be
And you
at
do
school
that
and
when you're an adult.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
My kids are going to invoice the
Yeah.
school if they get homework.
Yeah, I think, but like when I went and sat my gas, that's what really, because I wanted it, and I actually wanted it, that's when I'd done homework. And I'd be coming home, I was highlighting everything, I was reading through the books, and like everything was going and going. And that's the first time.
It sounds like you trained your brain.
Yeah, like, but constant. But then before that, I'd never done it in school, like nothing. That was the only time I've ever done it.
So here's a question, right? And this works for me going into exams. With a highlighter,
Yeah.
do you find if you highlight something in a certain colour?
And then you then build a frame to pinpoint. I'm trying to think what it's called.
So do you have a colour though that you like naturally can remember?
Well, I'd say blue, but it's because it's like
Really?
my favourite, yeah.
Yeah, mine's yellow or green. I find blue's hard to read.
Well, I'd do it so I always used to highlight the main things in blue, but that's because it was my favourite. I then would just
Why
naturally-
blue's the favourite?
always.
Aren't you a Liverpool fan?
I am. I know.
Mate, are you sure you're not Everton?
I know it doesn't sound good. Yeah, I've always been blue though. Yeah. I mean, at one stage, my whole
Is that your favourite colour then, blue?
Yeah.
Because I think you can learn a lot of about yourself from. See, like blue is kind of like now with Wimbledon and that blue I like, but I don't think I'm naturally drawn to blue, the colour. A bit like numbers.
Have you had the same colour
colours
the whole time?
Have I?
Yeah.
My colours are orange and purple. Yeah. And I don't know why, but they're my colours.
Interestingly, they are on opposite ends of the colour spectrum. So you've got primary colours, which are blue.
This is AI talking, by the way, guys.
You've got blue, red and yellow. And then the secondary colours are orange, green and purple.
Yeah, so opposites attract, guys, yeah?
They do.
Yeah.
They do indeed.
Exactly
so
that.
there you go. So you picked those two colours, orange and purple, go well together.
This isn't my first road, no, joking. So going back to learning, right? So I've done so many podcasts recently that it's like I'm definitely currently surrounding myself with very similar people. So maybe I'm the vibe or they're the vibe, but there's definitely some sort of vibe going along. It's like you said something earlier that I'm like, oh, this guy said this. And then another conversation happens. I'm like, we said that, you know? So going back to the learning thing though, right? So school, what was your favourite subject?
Science, I'd say from probably like year 8 onwards, so like the main bulk of it. But then once again, it's because it was chemistry and I was doing
I was about to say there's two different, was it
so there was
and
physics, chemistry and biology.
Biology
Was like where you like...
I don't know, that's when you did the frog thing.
Yeah, so that weren't really, but yeah, like the whole... Anything where I could just do something. That or DT, which was like woodwork. I mean, woodwork I've always found fascinating. That would be my second go-to trade, I'd say.
I think woodworkers, if we're going to go straight into like trade stuff, they're definitely the most creative.
It's unbelievable.
Trade
like,
industry.
Joiners and that are just like, we like had a breakfast bar fitted at home, and it just blew my mind. Like,
You didn't do it?
No, I didn't do it. No. Yeah, but I'd happily pay for that.
This weather's bad, man.
I've actually got a question about woodwork, timber work, whatever you would call it.
No, wood, that's wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, timber's different.
So that's like where you've fashioned the planks from wood to create timber.
Sometimes you treat it if it's going to be outside.
Okay. What I was going to say is, what's the difference between a carpenter and a joiner?
A bit like a plumber and a gas engineer. Like some people do carpentry and joinery. So if you look on some carpenters' vans, they'll say carpentry and joinery. But carpentry actually I know some really good carpenters that are great at first fix, and I know carpenters that are good at second fix. Again, back to same in plumbing. Some people can, first fix a bathroom. Some plumbers can't.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between a carpenter and a joiner?
Joiner make stuff out of wood, and carpenters build stuff, I would say. So like carpenters would build stud work in houses and sort of like that sort of bit of work. Joiners will make you a table, make you like shelves.
I see. Or like the banisters and balustrades, things like that.
I think I've met more carpenters that say they can do joinery than I've met joiners that can become carpenters. Does that make sense? Like I feel like the crossover.
Yeah.
And maybe also with the plumbing industry that maybe a plumber may go to gas more than breakdown engineers go to plumbing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a weird thing to say, isn't it? But genuinely, like I think like a lot of plumbers, like what you said, when you've done your plumbing, you went through plumbing to gain your gas. Whereas some gas engineers actually sometimes think it's a step down to become a plumber.
The trouble with plumbing for me, though, it's like the bread and butter of the trade. I feel like if you can't, I'm not saying it's the wrong way, but if you can go and fix a boiler, you can go and fix a toilet, in my opinion. They might not like it, but at the end of the day, I was always a fan of having a wide range of, like, I couldn't do the same thing. So like, I mean, if I had a full day of servicing, I'd lose my head over it because it was just the same. Like, I'd want something different, like a toilet job, then a boiler breakdown, then the next day a boiler install. Like,
I think they're both difficult. I feel like, sometimes people, like I've seen plumbers and they say, oh, but gas, that's not for me. It's too difficult. And I'm like, actually, a lot of gas engineers are probably intimidated by plumbing.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I remember when I was a plumber, all I wanted to do, I thought, going through
Fire, I think.
going
Sounds like
through
an
like
alien,
a whole
wouldn't it?
day of just servicing, I thought that's got to be the easiest.
Oh, that's the noise. He's not an alien. He's my son. Oh, man. Excuse the noise. Yeah, so, do you know what? I wish I had done my plumbing. Because I'm like self-taught in plumbing, but obviously being self-taught, like everything, like if you learn a language, like for instance, if you learn English and English wasn't your first language, it's always going to be a bit broken English.
Yeah.
But if it was your first language, you probably always pronounce things.
Some would argue that actually, if you learn the language properly, like say English, there's some foreign people speak better English than some English people because they've learned specific element. They've learned the language properly, the grammar, whereas a lot of us just wing it through school and don't do too well. So I think it's quite often dependent on the person, So there's a lot of, as I say, English people that speak fairly broken English.
So back in the day, they used to say it was the Queen's English, but now it's the King's English, right?
Yeah.
Which is a weird scenario to say that.
And actually, if you look on, say, like I'm learning Spanish at the moment.
How's that going?
Very well, actually. But on Duolingo...
You sounded very English when you said that.
So
Very well, actually.
Yeah, it's on there, though, when it says English, there's an American flag next to it.
Yeah.
So, so you've got American English, which is very different. The building's falling down, which is very...
Oh, mate, did you just see the windows?
Yeah.
Mate, this weather is...
It's lasting for like 3 days.
Mate, that's...
Before I moved to a farm, I never thought wind was a thing, and now it petrifies me. Like, there's so many trees around this place that I don't even want to stand near. But listen, if they do fall down, I'll be the first person to chop the wood to put it in there, mate.
Get it in the fire.
Yeah, do you know what? I was saying this to you earlier on, right? Like, there's so many things that I've always bought, like, prematurely. But it's like I've got all these like axes and stuff that I'm just like waiting to get out.
Or when you first moved there.
Yeah, but even before that, I just like basically visualised being I wouldn't say I'm a farmer, but living in the great outdoors.
Yeah.
Like, I bought generators. I've got 4 of them in a box that unopened. Like,
They'll come in handy one day.
yeah, well, I think so. I hope not.
Are
But
they petrol or electric?
I'm not telling you, mate, because you'll end up selling my eBay.
I was like, I'll have one of them.
Yeah, they're petrol, mate. Going off of subject slightly, talking electrics, right? So I didn't do plumbing, and Sarah is very good with her questions, right? And it always goes to that keeps the topic correct, right? So I originally done carpentry, and then I done gas, and then plumbing. I then couldn't go and do plumbing, so I done electrics instead. But the way I learned plumbing is I didn't have enough, when I first started out, I didn't really have enough gas work. Yeah. And then they'll be like, can you change a tap? And I'm like, well, again, if I can fit a boiler or fix a boiler, of course, I know how to isolate water, I'd take something to pieces and then put it back. But with toilets and stuff, like a good plumber will go in there and just know exactly what the siphon is. Like a good boiler engineer would go into the boiler and then just go, I know exactly what would happen. Yeah, so I was like kind of self-taught plumbing. So originally I'd go in and like take the toilet to pieces, and then I would just go to the merchant with the part, and I'd say to the customer, don't worry, you're not getting charged for my time away. And I would just take the part and go to the geezer behind the jump. Mate, can I have the exact same thing? Or if not, the closest like for like, So I done electrics. So going back to the generators, yeah, I bought them because I know, and this sounds really negative, but I know that there's going to be blackouts and power cuts. Or if I don't know it, I think it. Because there's too much electricity being drawn from the grid, and that concerns me, yeah? So I just knew that I was like, well, if I get myself generators, if there is blackouts, then I'm turning the electricity back on, right? So I hope it doesn't happen, but obviously COVID happened. No one would have ever predicted or listened or believed that. So I'm ready. If there is blackouts, mate, I'm definitely going to put the lights back on, man.
Yeah, I done a job for an old boy once. once, and it was only when I went into his garage, made this massive generator. So he was like an old engineer, and it's the exact same thing. He's like rigged it all up to do his whole house, and he said the exact same thing, but he had like 12 different zone valves for each radiator, but they were all under the floor. He'd even rigged it up for that, so then if that went, he also had heating. Like it's
an engineer is like a doctor, isn't it, man?
This is the thing, my brother, so when he first moved into that house, I told you his house is renovated. First thing he did was he wired all the water, because he had so many roofs, he had all the water that ran into a tank, so he could use that to flush all of his toilets, so he was saving on his water bill. And then he fit solar panels, and he's done all of that. Same sort of thing, just to get off the grid, really. But you almost need, without the skill set that you boys have got, it's impossible. Like, I couldn't do that. And this is what you were saying about schools should be equipping everyone with the skills to do at least one trade, because then let's say everybody's got one trade, one of your neighbours is going to have one of the other trades. It would put you boys out of business, but at the end of the day,
it wouldn't put us out of business though, because the thing is, I tell you what's going to put people out of business is AI. That is going to put people out of business because that is scary and it's going to be around within 5 years. That's going to put a lot of normal jobs.
Is it
ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean that's blown up, hasn't it already?
Well, I mean now there's video software. I mean AI is another one for another day, but yeah, I mean I guess.
But the school system, going back to this, sorry to interrupt, right?
Yeah, sorry.
But my views on the school system are very bold, right? And I think the school system needs to change. Like for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, everyone gets put into a big room and gets told to listen, shut up and report to your desk, innit? And then a lot of the time, not most of the kids, right? A lot of the kids, they're not channeled in because they don't actually care. But actually, if you talk about a subject they did care about, I think there's a film about it, and I want to say it's called Divergent. And they categorize, that person's, I want to say, one's like Amnesty, which is like the honest people. And then you have one, this Dauntless, which I think is the fearless one, right? And I think actually that film is truth in life, where everyone is part of a club where they're all drawn to certain scenarios or certain people, and all of us probably could fit into a little category. And then we'll all be happy in that little category if we hung around with people that thought similar to us,
Well, they say there's 4 different types of learning. I can't remember all of them.
Visual, audible, I think, or audio.
One of them is kinesthetic, which basically means doing stuff.
Yeah.
So, and actually, like you're saying, the school system certainly needs reform, because it's not built. So I would be really interested to see how many tradesmen up and down the country, how many successful tradesmen came away with very little qualifications.
Yeah, but you say that, but some people, sometimes they say don't judge a book by its cover, but some people you think aren't academic and they are very academic.
But that's the point. No, they're not necessarily academic, but they're intelligent. So academia is like being able to listen, repeat, and that's the thing, is a lot of academia is designed to create people who are just going to go and follow instructions and work in a factory. And genuinely, the curriculum has been designed to stop people asking questions and questioning the system and, becoming self-sufficient. Like you boys, as I say, if you equip all of these people with these skills, it's not good for business necessarily.
I don't know, man. Listen, mate, I would be happy to be, for me, let's say I'm 38 in a couple of months, I could definitely have a child that's 18, 17, that's leaving school. And if his generation or her generation, if I had a daughter, were coming through now and they, were trained in what I do, I'd love it, because it'd make me have to get better, because I don't want to become complacent.
Well, that's what I've had to do, because everybody can get a camera now. Everyone can become a filmmaker now. So it's
keeps on your toes.
Of course, you have to up your game. You have to keep getting better. You have to be better.
Up your game.
Up your game.
Up your gain. GAIN with a capital G. But I think you should leave. If you're not going to university or you're not going to do something else, there's no reason why you should leave school at 18 to then go into further education in college to become a tradesperson. You should be at 16, you should be a plumber at 16. There's no reason why you can't start at 13 or 14.
Of course.
Or 15. Because listen, let's face it, and this is going to go off subject, right? But these 13, 14, 15-year-old people have already hit puberty. They should definitely then be understanding the real world, which is ultimately council tax, mortgage,
Well, none of that
payments.
gets mentioned in school at all.
No, and that's why these kids come out as kids still, but really they should be young adults. Who taught you about mortgages?
So my mum was a bit of an anomaly as a parent, but like I would see my mum coppering up on every Thursday. She'd have all the coins out, and she would be trying to pay bills like with coins. We were piss poor, but my mum would, you know, we still had a mortgage because back then you could afford a house. If you could afford rent, you could get a mortgage. So my mum would be like, "This is the mortgage," and we would take it in a little book, and we'd go down to Bradford and Bingley Bank, and we'd be like, "Right, that's
Bradford and Bingley.
Yeah, it's a building society. So they used to have building societies, didn't they? Before it was just now it's all banks.
Nationwide was a building society.
It was indeed, yeah. So Bradford and Bingley, we'd go down there, we'd have this little mortgage book, and we'd open it up, and you could see.
You'd pay cash into the bank.
Yeah. So it was the house I think cost 35,000, and you could see the money coming off like pen and paper, old school. So my mum was like, "This is what's happening. Stop asking me for new pairs of trainers. I can't even afford the gas." You know, so, but then I saw it. It was tangible. I could see it happening. And then I'd see her not using coins and using notes. And I'd be like, "Oh, can I get some new trainers?" She's like, "Maybe next week." I'd be like, "Okay." So that's how I learned about finances.
I
watching
learned
my mum.
mortgages from my dad, because like my dad's a talker, yeah. He used to ask people what their mortgage was. So my dad's like, young people, right, like, my son's already doing it to me, where he's like kind of learning and observing what I'm doing, right? But my dad, like, my mum used to say all the time, your dad asks everyone his mortgage, yeah? Like, so he'd be like, "So how much you got left on your house?" Oh man, that's how that mortgages.
That's good though.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, if your parents don't teach you, where else are you going to learn it?
It's like I bought my first place at 19, and I just knew, get the deposit and then just
Once
get it.
you're in, that's how we treat
And
it.
it was only when they started sending me the bills that I was like, you have to cut that bit out with the swearing, because I know I'm going to get in trouble, keep swearing. But so what I ended up doing is I ended up moving home, because I was like, I got myself on the ladder, and then I was like, couldn't really handle the ladder because my wages just couldn't support it. So I ended up nosediving back to my mum's house, took over her front room because I was used to my own gaff. And then she was like, "Yeah, you know, you can go upstairs." I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm going to sleep downstairs." So yeah, I stayed there for a bit, and then I ended up actually saving some dough, and then when I worked for myself, man.
So what did you do with that first property? Did you just sell it again, or did you rent it
Oh,
out?
mate, listen, man. That is a sore subject. Like, I sold a van recently. I'm really gutted that I sold it too
VW.
cheap. Yeah.
I love that.
And the flat, I sold that too cheap. And then I bounced onto a house and I sold that too cheap. And then property just boomed. And then, again, it took me about 5 years to recover from it. But the property market's just a wave. And if you can get it correct, you have a great time in it. If you don't get it correct, you get hurt and injured.
I was thinking about this the other day. I think the property market is a bit like Bitcoin, you know, like...
Listen, I'm intrigued by Bitcoin, but you know what? I had so many opportunities.
But cryptocurrency, like the mortgage, it's all because of what people say. It's not, you know, like gold. It's there, it's solid. But if someone says this house is worth 180 grand, and someone says, "Well, I want that house, I'm going to pay 190 grand for it," and gazump someone else or whatever, that house is then worth 190 grand, which means the neighbour's house is then worth 190 grand. And it's almost like, it's just about supply and demand, isn't it? And the only reason the house prices are so high is because there's not enough of them.
Listen, I like crypto. However, I haven't got the intelligence for it. And also, you know, you've got to be on it all the time.
Yeah, well, it's constant. Like, constantly checking it, and it wouldn't be for me, personally.
Have you got a mortgage?
Yeah. So that's what to try and, like, throw a load of money on something which you're not sure about, I just wouldn't run the risk.
But that's what I'm saying about the
who have
housing
done
market,
well.
though. Like, when you bought that first house, and then it crashed, like, bam, like, the money you're losing. There's not many economies where that happens, where you...
Do you know what? This might be a really stupid thing that I'm going to say, right? But I've heard that this was in like 2008 or 2009 or something. But I heard a guy in Hounslow crashed it, or by Heathrow Airport. One guy apparently done something and then fiddled something or other.
So...
And then he was the reason why
That I'm not sure that was the one in 2000. That wasn't the 2008 crash. There was a guy, I can't remember his name now. Ewan McGregor played him in a film, but basically he was a banker, a trader, and he crashed the system. But the one in 2008 was because in America they kept offering mortgages to people that couldn't afford them, and all of those people then defaulted on their mortgage, and so the housing market crashed in America, which then had a monumental impact on the rest of the globe and the global economy. So that caused a huge recession globally, especially in the Western world.
No. Navinder Sarao, the flash crash trader. Hound of Hounslow. Who is Navinder Sarao, the flash crash trader? Former stock market trader Navinder Sarao has been sentenced to a year of home detention for triggering a brief $1 trillion dollars and in brackets 770 billion stock market crash. Dubbed the Hound of Hounslow as an iconic reference to the famous Wolf of Wall Street fraudster, the Briton was shown leniency by a Chicago judge due to extraordinary circumstances in his case. But who is he, and how did he cause markets to plunge by almost 4,000 miles away? Now 42, Navinder Sarao is a self-taught stock market trader who helped cause panic in US markets from 2010 from a bedroom in his parents' house in Hounslow, West London.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
He made $40 million from his bedroom.
Wow.
It wasn't even his bedroom, it was his mum and dad's bedroom. Maybe working from home is good. You know what I mean?
He was the first remote worker.
So going on from this, right, the next 5 years, what do you see the trade industry becoming within the next 5 years?
As a whole, I reckon it will grow. I think it's definitely got more and more popular as I've been in it. So I can't see it ever like.
In what way
dropping.
popular?
I just think when I first said I wanted to do it, everyone else was still going off to uni. I probably had like a couple of mates. I then had mates who went to uni. It wasn't for them. They're now in trades. Like one of my best mates, he worked in a bank. Now he's an electrician. Like it's. Over the years, it's got more
It's
popular.
solid, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just don't think you can go wrong with it.
Yeah, it's a skill.
Like you say, going back to like the schools, I think definitely if they can push it, it will just rise and rise. The only thing is like you going back to like AIs, and you never know how far that's going to go. Whether it will get to a point where we'll then not necessarily like take jobs, but if it starts to take more office roles, then I feel like naturally people will just go to the trade. So yeah.
And that happened if we were to go back maybe 10, 15 years, like working in a supermarket was, it was a person doing it. And then you went to self-checkout. Yeah. And then the next thing was you were scanning your own products.
Even at Sainsbury's local near me now, there's a checkout bit where one person, but they're never there. They're busy stacking the shelves. Yeah. You've now just got all the self-checkouts. So it's...
Well, what's interesting is people are like, oh, yeah, but it's better to have the person doing that because everyone's stealing stuff. And the supermarkets go, yeah, well, how much money we lose from stolen products is still less than what it would cost to pay for someone to do it as a job.
Yeah. And I think with the trade industry, you can't really pay...
You can't AI
artificial
trade.
intelligence to do the job.
No.
Yes, you can do it on a new build, right? Like definitely with the houses, I think building houses is definitely going to change. Yeah, like for instance, where I live, mate, the place isn't going to last very long. It was built a long time ago, and I probably will end up knocking it down, I reckon, within the next few years. Like because it's like even this place, the wind, you just know it's not built correctly. But I do think like the way houses were built will definitely change, and obviously with renewables and stuff like that, I do think like they probably will become a big thing with new builds, but it won't be probably us piping it. Yeah. It probably will turn up pre-piped or pre-wired, You
can get flat pack houses now.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's already, like the pre-built stuff.
Which actually, I've got planning permission for one of these on here, but I don't know, it's still quite new, so I wouldn't want to be one of the guinea pigs that actually got one of them houses. Probably a bit like cars, like the electric car batteries and stuff.
Right. Do you know, electric cars, to me, I feel like it's I like the whole point of them and everything. It's just when they go like long journeys. Like we've got a friend who lives in Devon. She drove down one night to ours, forgot to charge it, so I had to just pull over and then call like AA or whoever it was, and they had to come and pretty much just recharge her back up.
But I had this same conversation with a chap that I played in a football game yesterday, and he came down from Sheffield and he stopped and he done a fast charge, and I said, mate, do you not have like a battery pack like to do it? But what did AA or RAC carry to charge an electric vehicle?
I'm not too sure. It's either, I think it must just give them a sort of like
a limp.
Yeah, like pretty much to get
to a
them
lamppost
to the
or
next,
something. Yeah.
So I like them. I do like them. I just think there's a lot of things where, take for instance like the vans. They've come a long way, the electric ones now. I remember when the electric vans first came out, it was like 100 miles max. Now I think some of them are pushing like 250. I think.
I mean, I know the transport.
It's still nowhere near as much as a petrol engine, though, is it?
No.
Well, mate, listen. The thing is, like, back in the day, I sound like a right old git. But when I was a younger man, everyone was like, "Go for diesel, and then you bought diesels, and then
And they started saying, "Don't go for these."
I know.
Yeah.
But I would electric vehicles. I would definitely lease.
Yeah.
I would never buy an electric vehicle because of the battery. You know
Well,
what I mean?
it's fundamentally flawed. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, they predict a 10-year shelf life, and you think my Fiat 500 is nearly 20 years old and still going strong. Like,
Especially since that last welding job, mate. Car's a good one, yeah.
Still going strong.
I feel like it's anything to do with like, there's more electrics. In my opinion, there's probably more stuff to go wrong.
Okay, so here's the scenario. We'll get straight into the nitty gritty. As a gas engineer, like I know there's a lot of people saying gas is gone, gas is finished. Me personally, I think it's BS. I don't think it's finished.
Yeah, I don't. Well, the whole talks when the heat pumps came out, I had loads of mates who was like, "What are you going to do for a job then?" And remember, was it 2025? They said they were going to be gone. That was it. Everyone was like, "What are we going to do?" I'm like, "It's not going to go because you can't expect all the houses in like the whole of the UK or like wherever, what they just all of a sudden one day going to turn the gas off. They're not. I think hydrogen will kick off.
Yeah, but I don't think that's. I know that a lot of the boilers are hydrogen ready, but
Yeah.
I know at one point they were like, the trouble is, man, time just flies, doesn't it? And they're like,
Well,
by
my
this year you'll
analyzer-
have this, that, and the other.
When I got my analyzer, that was new when it came out. That was the selling point. So I obviously got roped into it. I was like, yeah,
What analyzer?
Kane. So
Yeah,
I
I
needed
like
a new
Kane.
one, and that was the whole.
They're
selling
British
point.
as well, I think.
Yeah, mate, they're solid out of all of the different ones. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I kept getting problems with my Anton, kept freezing.
Yeah,
Whereas I like TPI as well. I feel like TPI is like just a brick, but the brick never really breaks.
Yeah.
Kane's a bit
Mate,
of a sick note,
do you know,
but
it's their calibration which done it for me. Like their whole, you send it off, and they've got a thing where as soon as they send it, receive it, they'll give you a text. If they can't make sure that it will be back with you within 24 hours, if they can't fix it, they'll just send you one back out.
yeah,
And
customer
it's-
service is king,
yeah,
right?
And it's not like what I found with Anton is over the years, I was sending him for calibration. Next minute, it was like 200, 300, 400.
And then you go, I
Kane's
might as well
just
buy
steady.
another one then
Yeah.
when you're in.
I mean, it's
in
like
that deep.
anything, but yeah, like Kane, there was a few features which I just thought I'm going to stick with them.
So now we've gone through gas analyzers.
Yep.
What's your favourite boiler brand?
Valent, it's always been Valent. I think from a sort of, I'd class myself more as a breakdown engineer, so you get to know like the whole ins and outs of them. The real sale point for me between like the Valents and the Worcester, that's what I tell everyone. They both had the same fault, diverter valves leaking. Valent overcame that by turning it from plastic to brass. Worcester started manufacturing it with a green rubber underneath. And for me, that was then what just swayed me. But don't get me wrong, I'll fit whatever. And I work on all of them. I actually, like how much I know about the Worcesters, I do think they're good. I wouldn't say there's a bad boiler out there. I mean, Bakira's probably quite far down, but yeah, Valent would top it all day long.
And then Vocaras though, for the price of them.
For the price,
for a 5-year warranty.
You
like,
you can't moan at that, especially like it will meet certain criterias. Like every boiler has a meaning, like Maine. Like there's a lot out there.
Maine's Baxi Podston, isn't it?
So I wouldn't say there's a terrible boiler, but yeah, if I could pick how I'd look at it, if I could have one in my house, I'd have a Valent in there.
One boiler that done me over in the early days was Remaha.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, and you know what? The
Like 6
merchant sold
times?
me on that. Because a young man, like, just starting out, and they were like, you know, you get a Remaha, the flow rate's amazing, and you get we take you out for a curry. I was like, well, sold. Like, so they took me out for a curry, like this rep, man, and yeah, basically they took me out and they were like, yeah, let's fit the boiler. I was like, yeah, no problem, man, give me the curry. Then I'm like, what boiler is it again? Like, yeah, they literally sold me on a curry, man.
Wouldn't take much with the curry with you.
Nah,
would it?
mate, listen, curry makes the world go round.
Nice.
Yeah, like, but like seriously, like their flow rate, I want to say it was like 12.5 litres per minute or something, like for a 24 kilowatt. And that was like knocking other manufacturers by like 3, 4, 5 litres per minute. And this was like 2008. They had a 5-year warranty, but like it was really embarrassing because I didn't fit that many, maybe 50, 60 of them. But then they just disappeared, and it was a bit rubbish because I put the company name to it, and then they just disappeared, and it was a bit embarrassing from some of the customers that I was like, but I tell you, a builder sold it to me though, because he was like, you know, you don't need to get an unvented cylinder, just fit this combi, the flow rate's brilliant, and it did work. I think they're called Broag, I think, like the commercial. I mean, they were called Broag, and then went into the domestic, and now. Actually, I think maybe even Baxi might have the rights to Remaha now.
Yeah, I feel like that does ring. I mean, like I say, I've probably 6, 7. I think I've come across. They're just not that common. Alpha's another sort of.
Yeah, I think that's poor actually, Alpha.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I mean they
Good
had
name though.
so many like common faults, which. Yeah, it was a rep. The rep was always in the merchants, so at least once a month I'd walk in there. But I got pally with like the people in the merchants, so he would annoy me so much that when he was in, they'd text me, just so I know I didn't have to go in there because I thought I just can't deal with going in there again.
Yeah.
How many other people do you think were getting text messages?
Oh, probably a lot. Yeah, I mean, look, he was doing his job. But
Can I ask you a question, right? So sales is obviously like some people buy off people, other people buy off, you know, other scenarios. But do you know, like if you go on holiday, and like you're going down the strip with your missus, you know, for a bit of dinner, what really frustrates me is the people that come up and
like jump out.
yeah. And I think a lot of couples do that little walk and then get to the bottom and then they go, which one did you like?
Yeah.
You know?
You got to like scout it as you go past.
And then they do a U-turn.
Yeah.
Like, because you always, they come up to you, they're like, no, come in here, all right, great food. Mate, don't we've eaten already.
Yeah. You do.
Have you ever been to Brick Lane in East London?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah. But mate, the amount of times that me and Sarah have gone into like somewhere and like straight away the vibe's not good. Yeah. And then you sit down and then like one of you like, well, I didn't want to come in here. You got me in here. And then like we've left so many restaurants.
So you got to have a quick drink and then...
Yeah, the bill piece. Why? No, don't worry, mate. We've already eaten. Yeah.
That
what I like about the salespeople, if you're on holidays, they give you the menu and go, if you want anything, let me know. And I'm like, that's a big thing, you know. Like it's like you've obviously you've engaged me, but you haven't married me. Like, and if I want to marry you, then fine, perfect, man. I like to see the menu first.
Yeah, you got to.
And so when you go up and then you start looking at the menu, and then they swarm you sometimes, man.
If we're like, say, if we're planning on going to a restaurant, it's a bit different. But like Mia she'll Google the menu before we even go. I'll look at it when I get there. But yeah,
that's men and women, mate.
Yeah.
The difference.
But yeah, going like if you're abroad and you're walking around, it is the worst. Just getting in your face, I'm like, right, that's it. I can't. Stresses me out before I've even sat in there.
I've just got a question for you, Alf.
Yeah.
We were talking off air just a little bit about your new role and what you do now. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer being on the tools or do you prefer being a manager?
I think it's a hard one. It's all I've ever known is being on the tools. So like, I mean, Ryan will say it took a lot for sort of me to like get my head round and like sort of like transition. But now I'd say, yeah, I mean, the difference in it. I can see myself staying in the office for quite a while now.
The trouble is, though, once you... Like, a lot of tradespeople really want to get off the tools.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a hard thing to do. Like...
Transition.
Or just, like, an opportunity to be able to do... Because injuries are a problem. So if you're a manual worker,
Same in my game. With cameras and everything's heavy in it. So there's only so much the back can do.
But then I think I probably interrupted it a bit premature. But the trouble is, once you started in the trades, it's a thing you miss, because it's like, for instance, I've been off the tools for. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong, I still get on when I can, but like I feel like on the tools is when it's Monday to Friday and you're all the time doing it. Like you never forget how to ride a bike, right? But really, I reckon 2013.
Oh, really?
It was when you came off.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've got low mileage in my legs, man.
Okay, then how about this then, Alf? What would you say is the biggest downside to coming off the tools? Like, is it something you miss? Is it something that's happened to you?
So the satisfaction, which is, if you would have asked me what my, say, favourite thing about being on the tools, and it's the main thing I miss, is the satisfaction of going into a job where they've got no heating, hot water, and you get that first time fix and you just see like the happiness on their face and that, and then you can walk out. Like, I think I texted you, I'd done an out of hours job the other night and they literally just had a baby.
Yeah.
So I went there, I got it up and running, and it's that which I miss, I would say. Like, definitely. Like, don't get me wrong, I hear it when I talk to the customers over the phone and stuff, but it's not the same as actually you physically being the one and actually being in front of them. So yeah, I'd say that is the main thing I miss.
Okay, then so the opposite of that then, what is it that you don't miss about being on the tools?
When a job goes wrong and a 2-hour job turns into a whole day, and the stress of either you've got the water off or you've got to make sure you get it up and running, which then stresses you out more. I'm quite a calm guy, but there's times when you get stressed out. So definitely when a job goes wrong, which it is life, it always will. You get days like that.
And I guess that's the problem with it, is it's inevitable that jobs are going to go wrong at some point.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you ever meet anyone who says they've never had a job gone wrong, they're just lying. Like, you're always...
It's not what happens, it's how you deal with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the main thing, you can have all the qualifications. And I remember I told this apprentice when I was training him up, I remember the day he got his level 2, he's like, yeah, I'm a plumber now. I was like, look, I said, you can have your qualifications, but you need to be a problem solver. So you can't just get fresh off the boat and then say you're qualified. I mean, I was the same. I remember the day I got my gas, I was like, yeah, that was it.
What did you do the day you got your gas? 'Cause it's a big thing, man.
I probably just went for a good few beers, to be honest, and just I was over the moon, because what I was saying earlier is it's all I wanted. So like the excitement of like, this is the next chapter now.
What a lovely saying. This is the next chapter now.
It was just, but then also I think it was more like the relief, because like I was saying, I was at home every night, like revising. So then I had that relief, but then what I didn't know was then moving forward, like the position that I was in with my job, the gas engineer who was there ended up getting sacked the following day, and then it was me. And at the time, I hated it, but now I look back on it and I think it taught me everything. I then literally got picked up from the day of getting my qualifications, and they just threw me out there. And at the time, I hated it. I was coming back, Googling like all different manuals, just because I didn't want that embarrassment of
But that's how
going
you
into
learn.
a job. Yeah. Oh, now I wouldn't change it for the
There's
world.
lightning.
And then thunder. Wow.
That lightning, though, was like, I reckon, 1.5 second before
That's close.
thunder, man.
It's a metal
Is that
roof.
close?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that, what do you mean?
Well,
How
light,
does rain? What is going on, man?
well, light travels faster than sound, but if the sound follows the light fast, it means it's very close, because it means the light and the sound have had less distance
What
to
is
travel.
the chances of getting struck by lightning?
Very low. But you've got more chance of being struck by lightning than winning the lottery.
Who told you that?
It's just the numbers.
So, the gas thing, becoming gas safe, I think is a bit like getting your degree.
Yeah, 100%. Like I never went to uni, so like people, like you say, getting their degree. For me, it was getting that, and it was really just a whole next stage, and I could then go forward with it. I mean, I've never experienced anything, like I was saying, wasn't great in school. I didn't get great results, so I'd never actually experience that, and for that, I mean, that was it. I mean, I guess you can sort of say like the people in uni will still get that with their degree, and without me being horrible,
I can't hear shit. Wow. Sorry.
This is some mad weather, isn't it?
Yeah, mate, this is biblical. This is biblical level. So, I'll say when it goes quiet.
No one can hear me, right? But I've built a lot of houses in my time, right? And when I'd hear this weather, when I was building houses, I would shit myself. So I'd be like, what's open? What trenches are going to be like full of water? What roof isn't protected and stuff, man? So there's builders out there now this evening that are going to be stressed because of this rain, man.
How about this then, just to go off what we were just talking about? It's less than 1 million to 1 chance of being struck by lightning, and it's 40 million to 1 to win the lottery. So you're 40 times more likely to be struck by lightning than win the lottery. And yet people...
I've won 60 quid on the lottery.
Yeah, my father-in-law, God bless his soul.
Oh, wow, look at this. Sorry to interrupt. Look at my watch, yeah? Are e-fuels about to kill electric cars?
Well, yeah, because BMW have just sanctioned hydrogen, haven't they?
What
Hydrogen
are e-fuels,
engines.
man?
Hydrogen.
Which is what we just spoke about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I literally just said hydrogen will kick off before.
BMW have stated, apparently, it's not official, but the news is coming out that
Hang on a second. This is weird, man. 1 minute it's biblical weather. The next thing,
stopped.
the watch is going on. There's definitely smart technology listening to scenario, isn't it?
They listen into everything.
Of course. But BMW are now, they're going to stop making electric cars, and they're now going to put all of that money and research into hydrogen.
The news, obviously, this is how people learn, right? I don't listen to any of it because, did they say ignorance is bliss?
They do?
Yeah, so for me, the less I know, the better for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's all depressing as well.
Yeah, but also if the news is going to change my life, someone's going to teach me the news about that certain scenario.
If it was serious enough to affect your life, you'd hear about it.
Yeah,
I get that.
And you know that goes to business as well. Do you know that?
Yeah.
With a business, so like growing a business and stuff like that. I was talking to a chap recently who owns a software company, and he was like, you know, there's always going to be problems, but when the problem comes to you, then obviously if it's that important, you'd be faced with it, right? But if not, you've got to sometimes just turn a blind eye to certain problems in life, man.
No, I think it's better for your mental health to do that, because at the end of the day, like, I spend a lot of my time worrying about crossing a bridge over a river that doesn't even exist. So, and I'm like, oh, and then it never happens. And I've spent so much energy wasted on something that's never going to happen. And it's the same thing. Like, if you watch the news, you worry about things. Oh my God, the bad weather's coming. It's like, well, when the bad weather comes, you'll see it. So, you know.
So talking about the bad weather then, today, what happened? The A3 was flooded.
Oh, yeah, I haven't sat in traffic like that because I'm used to just going straight to the office now. So yeah, from Weybridge, I was at the gym. It's normally...
What did you do in the gym today?
6 a.m. What did I
What
do?
did you do?
So it was lower body. So I done...
You didn't skip leg day then?
every Monday. Every Monday.
Oh, wow, that's
I
discipline,
get
man. That's
I
the
get the
hard
worst
day.
bit out.
Over and done with. Good
And
for
then
you.
I then struggle for the rest of the week walking up the stairs. But yeah, I get the worst bit, and then I know it's a good week then if I get that done. But yeah, no, the traffic, it was... It's
So you
normally
ripped the plaster off.
25 minutes, I'd say, drive. To me, just shy of 2 hours to get in.
Wow.
Yeah, because all the...
Where was
bridge-
it flooded
so
then?
it was flooded underneath the bridge at New Malden. But I was on Waze, I was on everything, and it just kept on saying stay on. And like you could see all the slip roads were just chocker. Normally I'd be the sort of person who would get off. I'd just find a route. But the fact Waze was telling me, and I just couldn't see anyone moving, I was like, I'm going to sit here.
So what happened then? Did
So it was-
they must have sent tankers out to then...
Yeah,
suck
so
out?
I couldn't see because where they shut it off and then was just diverting everyone. I was trying to look, but you couldn't really see. But it was down to one lane coming the other way, but our bit was fully shut.
I mean, yesterday was mad weather, but today seems like it's not far off.
Yeah, but it's all been up north and in Scotland, and then that passed over, and now another storm's come, but it's hit the south. So we didn't, like at the weekend, we didn't like Friday, Saturday, we didn't get hit by it.
Saturday, I nearly got sunburnt, mate. I swear down, man. It was hot on Saturday,
It was certainly
man.
warm, yeah. Claire was like, oh my God, the sun's warm.
People going B&Q to buy a jacuzzi.
But in Scotland, they had a red weather warning. Red, red is stay indoors. Do not leave the house. It's a risk to life. So literally, everyone was curfewed in Scotland, pretty much.
Didn't they? They shut like supermarkets and
They
everything.
just told everything to shut to stop people going out.
Mate,
It's a
nothing
risk
would
to
surprise me. Since COVID, nothing would surprise me now.
that was a shock, though, wasn't it?
I mean, like,
I mean, no
where were
one knew
you
it
when
was gonna
lockdown, when that night, like...
I was filming a boxing event the day before lockdown was, and I was with 10,000 people in, well, maybe not, about 5,000 people in York Hall in Bethnal Green. And
I love that place, man. That is the home of British boxing.
yeah, and no one in that room would have cared about COVID anyway. You know, it was that kind of crowd.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting there going, I'm going to catch COVID. I never did, but you know, like I was one of those that watched the news, spent time panicking, that was like, fearing it all, and then obviously it hit, and like you say, I mean, nothing's going to surprise me now.
I think it was a Thursday, wasn't it? Because we were in Barcelona that weekend, and literally the day we left like early that morning. That's when Spain, I think. I'm sure it was Spain.
Yeah, we were
They
late.
went, they went. So if we would have been delayed or whatever, we probably wouldn't have. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting stuck out there, but yeah, that was. I mean, no one knew it was going to happen.
Do you know what? So that time, like last year, I went big on fitness, yeah. But that time, I was actually with a good mate of mine from school, and he was PTing me. So I was actually on a journey trying to get fit. And I remember the gyms, like, be like, oh, mate, you know, they're on about a lockdown. It won't happen in England. It happens like other places, but it wouldn't happen where we were. But yeah, man, that's a fucking crazy story, man. Fucking COVID, isn't it?
It's the road shut. Like that was. Well, I mean, everything was shut, but yeah.
Did you work during COVID?
So I had, I think it was like 3 weeks off. And then, so I worked all the way leading up to it. All the way like at the first bit of it. Then I had like 3 weeks off, and then I went back.
Because I think a lot of people, work kept them sane.
Yeah.
It was like a nice thing to go and do. You kind of like get out of the house, isn't it, man? But then other people got to, if you had a newborn or anything like that, and you got to spend some magical time with.
Oh yeah.
What have you done?
Me, yeah, well, Artie was born in the January before the March, and she was 2 months old when COVID hit. And like I said to you in the past, like for me, COVID was, interesting in the podcast earlier, is like, what's your ideal day? What I realised was bringing up my kids was actually all I was really asked about. So I really struggled to go back to work after COVID. Like I didn't want to not be.
Your routine was, you were used to your routine.
Yeah, so now I've decided to be time rich and just enjoy.
That's what Bob Marley said.
Well, yeah.
He said, like, what you're rich is like, what do you mean rich? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so for me, I choose to only work if when I have to, really, to keep, Christmas and all those things. I want my kids to have a good time. But, like for me, she's growing up very fast. She turned 5 last week. I've done my bit. Like, I'm ready. And now she's at school. I'm getting back into work. I'm working a lot more now.
Your kids, mate, are a whole scenario, man. Like, if you have children, work has to come last, man. That's that. Like it's the best speed restriction you'll ever get.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Yeah, they are a speed bump.
Yeah,
slow
man.
down.
And then go down to 50 miles per hour. And you're like, of course, put me down to 10 miles per hour. Do you know what? What is that? The mask? Somebody stop me! I don't even want to work. I want to go home and see my kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. On that note, I think it's nice to leave a podcast on a love note. You know what I mean? On a good note, man. Talking of that, I reckon we said this before, but I feel like he's going to have twins, man. But other people have said it to you, haven't they?
Yeah, well, Mia's had they're mediums, so she's had 3 or 2 different ones. So and then when you said it, I was like, I'm not.
I'm a medium, man. I'm not just saying in my clothes, man. But I used to be an extra large, right? And I used to say I'm the only medium that's an extra large, man.
So hang on, you think she might be having twins? Have you not had the scan yet?
No. So we're not. Yeah, no, we haven't got. It's just everyone keeps on saying it. They can just imagine it.
So she's not pregnant?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just in general, at some point you might have twins.
Yeah.
Okay, well we'll remember that. We'll come back.
I don't know, man. I could just, you just see
certain scenarios in life, didn't you, man? Have you got any names if you were to have children?
So we've got our girl's name.
Don't tell us it, because someone else will then watch this and then steal your
yeah.
baby's name, man.
Yeah, we got a
Brian.
girl. So pretty much, if we don't have a girl, I don't know what we're gonna do. But
You got a boy's name?
So we did have one, which was to do with her granddad, but it's getting really popular. So now it's sort of on like the back. But then I've got a couple in my head. But I just have to wait and see until we see.
Mate, that me and Sarah like the first boy, man. Like his name, man. Like, he literally got named by the hospital. They called him Connor, and we would have stayed with that. But then my brother's boy's second name's Connor, so I didn't feel it was the right thing to do.
What do you mean the hospital named him Connor?
Because we didn't name him for ages, so then they just, with the doctors, registered him as Connor O'Sullivan.
I mean, that's...
And I would have rolled with it, mate. I would have kept it. But then my brother's boy, his second name's Connor, so I didn't really want to tread on his toes. Yeah. I think a lot of families argue about like names.
But I split up with my girlfriend Abby, and then my brother called...
That's why you broke up, mate. Don't even know her name. Sorry, Abigail, if you're watching.
Yeah, and then my niece, a month was born...
I hope to God you got that on camera. He's like, my ex Abigail, like Caroline, like Rachel.
Yeah, well, but then my brother and his wife called their daughter Abigail, and I was like, but I was really like heartbroken when I broke up with Abby, or she broke up with me, Abby. Thanks, Abby. And like when he called her that, I was like, I feel that's a bit weird. Like, I've just been
mate, it causes a lot of problems in names. Oh, that's my David Lloyd alarm going off. I'm not even joking. So basically, at 7:59,
you have to book next
I
week's
book.
class.
Yeah. So I might have to go silent for a second. And what I do is so busy now because of all these new fucking January people. I had the two phones out, and then you have to fucking book like.
Have you got it on both of them?
Yeah. Yeah, mate. That's why I get into.
That's why I don't get onto Blaze.
Yeah,
I
did
did not have
me to
that.
cheat the system. No pain, no gain, man. Yeah, so it's 1959. I set it for.
So just before you go, because we are over an hour now, just one of the things that Ryan's always asked people, which is quite a good one, is what was, and it normally is what's your worst, but what was your best job you ever did in the trade? Like, do you remember going in, and what was the best job you ever did?
I think it falls back to what I said about like the satisfaction. It was going in. I remember it was an elderly couple. He was there. His wife was in hospital, and I just remember he called up and was like, "Look, my boiler's down." And I went over there, and I remember I could just see it in his face, like the sheer panic. And I thought, I get it, like no heating and that. But then actually I started chatting to him, because I always like to chat to the customers and sort of like build like just a sort of like connection with them.
Rapport.
Yeah, and then he pretty much said, he was like, my wife has been in hospital for like, it was like 3 weeks, and he was like, she's coming out today. And he was like, he's gone like food shopping to like get the food in, and it came back to no heating. So then I stayed. It was a nightmare of a job, and it was probably one of the most awkwardest repairs I've ever done. But I just stayed and stayed to the point that at the end of it, me and him just sat down, had a cup of tea, and like I literally thought he was going to cry. And it's stuff like that which really like hits home.
That's when the thing is, when you miss the tools though, because you can be the person that gets the help.
Yeah, and that's why you're the 5th emergency service.
Yeah.
Because genuinely, you're saving people from freezing to death.
But you know what it is with when you're on the tools, right? And you know, if you're a good person and you know you can fix something or help someone, after an hour of when you should have finished, time goes out the window.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't it? It like completely just, it goes 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and then you're like, oh, mad, does it? You missed the boat anyway. Mrs. is okay with it, you know what I mean? I'm not coming back for like a few hours, whatever.
Yeah, Mrs. is probably happy about it, to be fair.
Yeah. On that note, anyways, thank you very much for watching. Sorry about all the biblical weather that we had. Obviously, no doubt when this comes out, it's probably going to be blue skies and sun, right? But so like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for watching. Good night.